Good morning, good evening, everyone. Today's session is going to be a unique one. It's going to be one where we are actually going to do 15 minutes of work together rather than only talk. And our guest for today is Dr. Saurabh Sane. Some of you may remember he was a guest in the past as well. His session was one of the most well-regarded, well-attended, and so we convinced Saurabh to come back and repeat the session that he did last time, but with a slight twist. And that twist is not only is there a live session for the first 15 minutes, we also have an interesting announcement to make. And so let me quickly go through a couple of slides and then I'd like to get Saurabh into the mix. So if you're not already a member of the Longevity Circle, please consider doing so because it's fun and it's hopefully very helpful. To join, you either click on the URL which Nivedita will put in the comment section, or you scan the QR code. We announced one feature last time that I want to just repeat for the people who have joined today, and that is today on the community, we keep it read only during weekdays. But even then, you can actually send in your questions during the weekdays. And the way you do it is there is a link that we have pinned to the top of the group. It's also in the description of that WhatsApp group, where if you click on the link, you can ask your question. It'll get submitted directly to our experts, and you'll get a response whenever the answer is ready. And the advantage, of course, is now you can ask questions without everybody seeing what question you're asking. And all your questions and answers that you ask all stay in one place. So you don't have to scroll through the WhatsApp group to find the answers to your questions. And by keeping the group read only, it's that much quieter, especially during the weekdays. It's really, really simple. If you haven't tried it, try it out, ask your question. Only the first time you'll have to log into your Google account so that your email address is what we get access to. That way we can send the response back to you over your email address. Okay, so that's the feature that is now live. The thing we wanted to announce, and this will become a lot more clear as we go further, but together with our very good friends and partners, Helios, we have a special gift that we've made available to our community members. It's a 12-week live series. And what will happen in this 12 weeks is Saurabh, who you're going to see one live session today with, but we're going to do 12 such live sessions, and it's only 15 minutes. If you can take out 15 minutes in a week, you will find that all the different aches and pains that we all face, neck, back, posture, and so on and so forth, each week will be focused on one such pain. You can attend every week. You can attend for the weeks that you have a specific issue for. But I personally think that having awareness of what are the simple things we can do, coming from an expert like Saurabh, to help us get rid of aches and pains is 15 minutes well spent. And so this is completely free. The idea, as always, is to make sure we help you build awareness of things that you can easily do and integrate into your lives. And hopefully that adds value to your life. And so while we are saying this, on the community, we are putting up a poll that will get posted with different time slots. I think we've got 3 or 4 different time slots that we'll put up there. It's always tricky because we're trying to find times that work for the US, within the US, West Coast, East Coast, as well as India. So there are only limited times that we could find, but hopefully if you tell us what times work, then the ones that are the most popular, that's the time we'll pick as the one that we'll start with. So that's the exciting announcement. Before we get into the session, our guest for next week is Dr. Smita Dadge, and the focus is going to be on sleep and all things sleep. This topic always gets a lot of interest whenever I write my blog posts on it. And so we decided to go get a sleep expert to talk about all things that matter when it comes to sleep. So that's next week. All right. Now, to Saurabh, like I said, he has been there, done that for many, many years, very highly regarded, has helped, I think Olympians, uh, amateur and professional athletes, and people like us. And so I have personally found Saurabh to be very practical in his approach. It isn't the use of fancy words and terms to make things sound cool. It is actually stuff that each of us can do. And so uh, without further ado, I actually want to have sort of first welcome Saurabh to the session. And Saurabh, I'd love for you to spend the first 15 minutes talking about one specific 15-minute session and what you're going to talk about today.
Sure, sure. That's perfect. All right. So, what we're going to do in the first 15 minutes. So, when me and Nikhil got talking before this session about what is the most practical way to get people to work on the aches, pains, musculoskeletal issues, some lifestyle issues, which can easily be fixed with small hacks, small exercises, some simple tricks. And I listed down a bunch of topics that I, in my practice, commonly come across. And today, as a first session, what we're going to do, I'm going to talk about low back pain, as it is widely problematic area for a lot of people. People just suffer from low back pain for years altogether, no matter what they try. It improves a little, then it goes back, it aggravates with certain activities, movements, and it doesn't really go away. And I've seen a lot of people struggle with low back pain for years without any perfect or sure shot solution to it. So that's why I wanted to take this as a first topic. And I hope people who are joining are ready to do some movements and exercises, just a little bit with me, so that they can actually feel what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to share my screen here so that I can walk you guys through a video which will tell you uh, how to know that what type of low back pain you have. That's the first. Just understanding what is the issue. Okay, so when we talk about low back pain, everybody will always tell you that, okay, you have a weak back, or you have a spinal problem, you have a muscle ache, you have some kind of disc bulges, disc prolapses. But across all low back pain, no matter what type of low back pain you have, there will be two components which will always be present. Any person who has a low back pain will either have a anterior pelvic tilt and a increased lordosis. That means the curvature of the spine will increase, or a reduced lordosis and a straight. That means the straightening of a spine and a posterior pelvic tilt. So I'm just going to quickly show on a video what that means. I hope all of you can. So this is a neutral tilt and a normal lordosis. All of us have a slight curvature at the lumbar spine when we look at our back from the sideways angle. Now, for some people, this curvature changes. Now, this is what you see right now is called as an anterior tilt, like butt jutting out, and there's this like a big curvature or a dent around the low back area. Now, this is called as an anterior tilt and a hyperlordosis. If anybody who is suffering from back pain has looked at the X-ray or MRI report, they would have seen this word in that report saying hyperlordosis. Or in other words, we like to call this flexion bias. And the opposite spectrum of this is a posterior tilt and a reduced lordosis, where we see people whose bellies are slightly bulging out, their hips are kind of dropping down, and if they see on their back, the curvature is absent. It's almost like their spine, lumbar spine, or a lower back has become straighter. Now, no matter what type of back pain or what is the root cause of that back pain, they will always find one of these two issues. And until and unless you fix this postural problem, your back pain can never really go away. And because of that, the exercises for these to fix these issues are, you might have guessed it, is exactly opposite to each other. For a flexion biased exercises, all the exercises that we need to do involve forward bending. And for extension biased low back pain or a postural defect, all exercises require you to do the extension of the spine. Now, unless you're doing this, the pain is not going to recover. If you do the other way around, the pain will aggravate. Now, first, it's a very easy trick to understand which type of bias you have. So, what I want you to do to identify that bias is, if you, wherever you are, in the floor, on the bed, just lie down, bend your knees once, and then straighten your knees. As you straighten your knees, just take your one hand and try to take it just behind your lower back, below your lower back. If your hand goes completely through and through, that means you have a anterior pelvic tilt and a hyperlordosis. If while lying down you see a tunnel kind of a thing below your lower back and your hand goes through, you have an anterior pelvic tilt and a hyperlordosis, or let's call it a flexion bias. Now, if
And this, Saurabh,
in this position,
this is the butt sticking out. Right, Saurabh? This is the butt
what,
sticking
what?
out position.
Correct. Butt sticking out position is that's what a anterior tilt is called as. Correct. Now, if you're not able to put your hand through at all, even your fingers are finding it hard to go in, that means you have a posterior pelvic tilt or a reduced lordosis. That means your lumbar spine has become straight, and that's the reason why you are having muscle pains. What normal feels like that you are able to enter your fingers through, but your hand won't go through. That's how a normal curvature should be. Now, based on that, once you identify if you have a flexion bias or an extension bias, there are some certain exercises. In today's session, I'm just going to go over three most important exercises that a person with a increased curvature or hyperlordosis or a flexion bias should do, and three exercises that a person with reduced lordosis or a straightening of spine should do. And believe me, just by doing these three exercises every single day for next 1 week, you're going to find immense difference in how your back feels and how that pain quickly recovers. All right. So I hope you guys have tried and you know what type of tilt you have. Even if you're not able to try it right now, exercises are very simple. So at least you can look at it, memorize them, and you can do them later. So first exercise for a flexion bias. If you have a hyperlordosis, it's called as pelvic tilt. So you have to be in this position where your knees are bent and roll your pelvis as if you're trying to pull your belly towards your belly button towards your chin. That's the kind of rolling of the pelvis we have to do. And then you're going to hold it for 5 seconds and then let it roll back. This from another angle. Just roll your pelvis towards you and relax it. So essentially, when you're doing this, what you're doing is you're flattening that increased curvature. So when you're lying down, you have that arch. As you roll that pelvis up, you're flattening that arch. You're letting those muscles take rest. In this cases, people who have hyperlordosis, they'll always feel pain around their waistline, just 2 inches outside of their spine. There are 2 points, though we call them PSIs, posterior superior iliac spine. On those 2 points, everybody who has this increased curvature will feel pain around those 2 points. Doing these exercises, you'll feel a sudden release in that pain. So that's exercise number one, a pelvic tilt. Now, second exercise is a
Saurabh, I have a
partial curl
question.
up. So consider, yeah, please.
When the pelvis is moving up, is it okay for it to get off the floor? So your feet are still on the ground,
No,
but or should the thing still be on the
yes.
floor, but the
Yeah,
belly button is moving up?
correct. Just the belly button. That's why it's a pelvic tilt. You're not really lifting your butts up because if you lift it up, then you're extending your spine. We are trying to do the opposite of it. Now, the second one. So, contrary to a normal belief, if you have back pain, they say don't do crunches, don't do forward bend, don't bend down. But if you have anterior tilt, bending forward is what you have to do in a protected manner. So that's why this is a very safe exercise for anybody who has low back pain and an anterior tilt. just do a partial curl up. So here, if you notice, your lumbar spine is still in fully contact with the ground. You're just lifting up, holding it for about 5 seconds, and then going down. When you do this, important thing, your neck should always be, you should be gazing at the ceiling, so you're not craning your neck. Your abdominal muscles is where you're supposed to feel that contraction. So feel that muscle getting tight. Keep your gaze on the ceiling. Hold that position for 5 seconds. And all these exercises, you have to do about 10 repetitions of them. So that's the second exercise. Because stronger that your abdominal muscles get, better is your the tilt. From that anterior tilt, we want to bring it to neutral. So, and for that, we need to get your abdominal muscles strong. The third exercise is a bilateral leg raise. Now, you might look at this exercise and feel that it's very tough, but once you get a hang of it, if your hand placement is correct, you won't feel it much. So you have to place your hands below your waist and lift both the legs up together. You have to do it very slow and gradual. If you don't have the strength enough to lift them up all the way, just gradually lift it as much as you can, maybe 30 degrees, 40 degrees, and then slowly bring them down. You don't have to go all the way up. Whatever degree that you can do comfortably while feeling your lower abdominal muscles, just slowly control that movement. Now, people who have diagnosed disc prolapses, herniated disc, any kind of PIVD, I wouldn't recommend this exercise. But if you have no such condition, you can safely do it. If you feel that lifting it up from 0 degrees to 80 degrees is getting very easy for you, we make it a little tougher by just going between 10 degrees to 80 degrees. So eliminate resting your legs down and the exercise difficulty will increase further. So now as you see, don't touch it down. Just take it to 10 degrees and then take it back to 80 degrees. That way you can up the difficulty if the first exercise gets easy. Now, if you think even this is easy for you and you are able to do 10 repetitions without breaking a sweat, we bring in hold. So you lift it and you're going to hold it at three levels. So 45 degrees, hold for 5 seconds. Then at 30 degrees, hold for 5 seconds. At 15 degrees, hold for 5 seconds. That's how you can increase the difficulty. And that's a very important part of any exercise. That whenever you think the exercise has gotten easy, you have to change some part of that exercise so that exercise always stays challenging. So I like to call any exercise comes with an expiry date of about 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, either the intensity, the frequency, or the resistance of that exercise has to change. If you're not changing it, then your body's gotten used to it already and you're really wasting your time. So always make sure no matter what exercises you're doing, keep them challenging. The last three repetition of that exercise should be challenging. Now, those were the three exercises for flexion bias. Now, the next three exercises we're going to look at for people who have straightened spines and a posterior pelvic tilt. So first exercise is back extension. Very, very good. So you get on your stomach, lie down, bring your hands parallel to the body, and then lift your shoulders and neck up. Hold it for 10 seconds. Arch as much as you can do. And when you do this exercise, make sure you're constantly breathing. And here, there's a lot of pressure which is coming on your diaphragm, which is your primary breathing muscle. So make sure you're doing shallow breaths and not deep breaths. In inverted positions, if you try to take deeper breaths, you end up struggling a lot. So whenever you're in inverted position, there's a lot of pressure on your tummy. Make sure you do shallow breaths. Don't try to take a deep breath. It will be counterproductive. For this exercise, you hold it for 10 seconds, do about 5 repetitions. This is going to work on your erector spinae, the muscle around your spine. So it's a muscle which runs on both the sides of your spine, which is where you're going to feel a contraction working. Now, if you think this is easy, I'll quickly give you a next step of this exercise. Whenever you manage 10 seconds hold and 5 repetitions of back extension easily, then you have to take it into a W position and then do the same thing. Just lift your back up. Now you see the curvature has extended even more. So we are recruiting more muscle fibers. We are also bringing in dorsal spine retraction, which helps improve that posture further. Let's look at it one more time. Perfect. Now, if you think this has also gotten easy for you, 10 seconds old, five repetitions are possible. Then for the next step, what you end up doing is you also bring in hip extension into play. So if you're able to do this easily, now along with this W, lift your both the legs also in the air, and you will feel a severe contraction on your lumbar spine. And those are the back extensor muscles that we are trying to strengthen. So this is your first exercise if you have an extension bias. Back extension, and I've given you three variations of it based on whatever level you are at. Now, the next two exercises in this are stretches. The reason why you have a posterior tilt and a straightened spine is because your hamstring and your glutes are severely tight. Anybody who has a posterior tilt and a straightened lumbar spine will not be comfortably able to touch their toes. If you're one of them, that tight hamstring is the primary reason why you're experiencing low back pain. For people with straightened spine, the pain is generally around the spine between that L3, L4 area. That is where you feel that pain. Whenever you stand for a long period of time, you start feeling like a fatigue and a pain. You want to sit down. All of that is happening because your hamstrings are tight and it's pulling your pelvis down. That's why stretching out your glutes and hamstring is a very, very important thing. Even if you don't do anything else, and if you improve the flexibility of your glutes and hamstring, you're going to see a 50 to 60% difference in your pain. So first is a very simple glute stretch. Even for anybody who, it doesn't matter if they have pain or not. If you have a sitting job or if you end up sitting more than few hours on a chair, do this stretch every 2 hours because your glutes are tight no matter what. This is where you're going to feel the stretch. So this is called as a seated glute stretch. People with back pain, very important. Otherwise, also anybody who has a long sitting hours, make sure you are repeating this stretch throughout the day. And any stretch has to be held at a discomfort and for 10 seconds. Once you reach that discomfort, be in that position for 10 seconds and feel that discomfort because until unless you're taking it to discomfort, you're not really going to improve on that flexibility. Now, the third stretch, which is for your hamstring. So find a chair, put your leg on it, make sure you're keeping the middle of the foot on the edge of that chair, toes completely pointing down. This position is very important. And then just let your hands go parallel to the ground and lean forward as much as you can. Generally, this hamstring stretch, most people do with heel on top. As soon as you keep your heel on top, your calf muscles get in play and your hamstring doesn't get stretched. That's why people have tight hamstring. So keeping your ankle fully down, toes pointing down, dorsiflexed is a very, very important thing to do in this. Go as much as you can, hold it at that discomfort, repeat it 3 times, and for each repetition, try to go a little bit extra, a little bit further than the previous. Back of the thigh is where you're going to feel the stretch. Each repetition, try to push a little more. That's how you challenge that barrier. And that's just by these simple exercises, you will be able to improve on your back pain very, very quickly until unless you are working on your posture specific exercises, your back pain is not going to go away. So fixing that pelvic tilt and fixing that curvature and bringing them both to neutral is the most important thing about your lower back recovery.
Great. Saurabh, that was amazing. I just came up with a new definition of old. When there is so much
Okay.
that I could, and I was resonating with what you were saying. I was like, man, I seem to be having all the signs of pains in the right places, but I love the description of each of these things that you provided because, like that simple example of when the foot is on the chair, make sure the heel is off.
Right.
Now that's something that's very easy to
Yeah.
miss, and then we end up doing these things the wrong way, and then wonder why it's not helping, right? And so, to
Correct.
me, I want to make this point for everybody on the call that you can always find these things online, but having an expert like Saurabh actually walk us through what what are the tweaks that are critical, and if this level is easy, then go to the next level, and so on. And so I think these 15-minute sessions, and by the way, that's exactly what this took. It took 15 minutes, and I think it was very, very helpful because it's recorded. When we send out the recording, we'll try and find a way to snip out these 15 minutes from the rest of the video as well, so that if someone just wants to watch this, they can watch this and repeat this. So there's a lot of
Makes
love
sense.
coming your way, Saurabh, in the comments. So let's move to questions that, some of which I had, and then I'm sure there'll be others who will bring up questions as well from the audience. The one thing that, Saurabh, I know there are a lot of people who have benefited from what you have done over the years. And I don't know if there's anybody on the call who has experienced the Saurabh magic. I'd love to hear, your thoughts, your views on what did you walk into, like when you decided, I need help. What was the challenge that you were facing, and what exercises did you end up doing, and within how much time were you able to see an impact? I don't know if there is anybody on the call, because I see a few friendly faces. I would imagine that you've experienced the Saurabh magic.
I'm one, Nikhil.
Oh, hi, Deepika. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been working out with Saurabh for about 3 years now. And a very reluctant person to come into this. Didn't have any specific problems, and why should I do it? I'll learn it all by myself. So we started, and I thought I'd picked up everything and then gave it a break. Nothing happened because I didn't do anything by myself. And of course, one keeps dealing with, as you age, you keep dealing with your share of aches and pains. So the one thing, and to come to the topic, there's so many things we can talk about of the magic of being with Saurabh. But the one thing that relates to this topic is that we have a joke running in the family that if you tell Saurabh this part of my body is paining, you'll just get more exercises. Like if it's paining, you exercise it more, differently, but more. Yeah. And I think that has really worked for me. I feel I'm fitter today than I was maybe 10 years ago, when I didn't think so much about my own wellness and my own mobility so much. And Saurabh sort of puts these things in perspective, gives you very practical tips. I have to say, I don't follow all of them. I wish I did. I don't know, I would be a superwoman at that point. But, we have our ways, we travel, and so we sort of circuit it. And in a very, very recent thing, I had a hamstring problem, and it's sort of giving me a little bit of trouble while I was walking. And I said, Saurabh, this is not working out. Now I went for a walk yesterday and see now this hamstring is. So he made me do the stretches. And after the session, he says, and the one thing I want you to do today is not walk. And before I could, really take my next breath, I said, wow, is Saurabh telling me not to do something today? He says, what I want you to do is row for 20 minutes today. So there's always an alternate exercise. You exercise the right way and you get over your pain. And I'm sort of beginning to realize that. And yeah, we love our sessions with Saurabh, and we have him for 3 hours every week. Wouldn't give it up for anything else.
Wow. What a lovely testimonial, Deepika. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. And I think for the rest of us, if we could spend 15 minutes a week, right?
Yeah.
What a great start, because these things build up. Like you said, Deepika, you started off as a reluctant participant.
Very reluctant, very. I used to look forward to missing my sessions. Like, how can I call off this session now?
Yeah. And so someone had told you at that point, you have to commit to 3 hours. You would have never even started.
No.
And so I think this is
We started with one session a week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, we all focus so much on strength and cardio, both of which are really critical. But
Yeah.
the worst thing that can happen to us is while doing all of that, because we've not taken care of fundamental stretching and mobility and
Yes.
balance,
Yes.
we get injured doing those other things.
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
that stops. And so this, to me, I can't, stress enough to the community that this feels trivial, but it is the least trivial of the things because it actually is the one that gives you a great base to build on top of.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So thank you, Deepika, for sharing. Anyone else? Because I think these
Thank you so much.
stories make it all come alive.
Yeah, Saurabh, I have a session
Sridhar,
tomorrow, so you'll go easy, hopefully.
yes, yeah, yeah. Sridhar, I think Pallavi was also there, but she just messaged me that she had to rush out for something. Otherwise, she
Okay.
was also there. Yeah, I think Salil is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just quickly, I'm probably, Saurav's most irregular uh, workout person, right? I mean, just doesn't happen as often as I'd like to. But, I think when I decided to kind of, Nikhil, again, inspired by you, do strength training, I thought Saurabh was the best person, actually, more than going to someone, a gym trainer or something like that, because, I've obviously known Saurabh a long time. And his knowledge is just fantastic. You were mentioning about aches and pains. I probably have 3x of what you have. And, in the strangest of places. But, it's always interesting that when I'm with Saurabh and I describe something, uh, he actually knows what it is. That's what I find amazing. Just the other day, I had this very strange burning sensation on my leg. And, he kind of asked me 5 questions. And, told me most likely it's some kind of nerve damage, which was, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Arun, can you go on mute? There is a background. Okay, good. All right. Go ahead, Salil.
And, he told me it's actually nerve damage because I'd actually started walking much more than what I normally walk. And, every session of ours is actually interactive in terms of this, right? There's always, we're discussing, all sorts of things. And, I can see my mobility has improved a lot. Right? I think an example is my golf handicap has gone from 22 to 17.
Yeah.
Right. And it's primarily to do with the fact that I'm, probably, moving far more than what I used to when I started off. So
Yeah.
just a quick example of, I wish I should spend more time and be more regular, but, hopefully my golf handicap, if I do that, will in the next 6 months get even better.
Yeah. No, Salil, I think
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that, because the point that really comes through is, even if you're not regular, you see the value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing something is better than doing nothing. And doing more is, of course, going to help. But that is really the point, that if all of us could just, whenever we get a chance, put in that 15 minutes of a session,
Yeah.
right? And that's effectively what we're trying to do with these 15-minute weekly sessions, is give everybody exposure to what benefit you will see. And then if you see the benefit, do more. But
Yeah. I've started doing this back exercises, which he's been pushing me, and now I've kind of become more regular with it, even when I'm not doing sessions or I'm traveling, right? Because I've had this lower back issue for a long time. And, it's just really been helping. I think, especially over the last 3 weeks, we've been focusing on it, and I can already see the difference.
Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you for sharing, Salil. In fact, I'd like to ask a few questions before we open it up for the community members to ask. First one, and I think maybe it's sort of been answered, But is pain ever really normal as we age? Because usually the standard story that is told is, of course, you're getting older, you're going to have pain. But is it really normal as we age, or is it something that can be managed without ever having to get there?
So, short answer, no. It is not normal to have pain as you age. There are, of course, multiple reasons why, as age, you can have pain, but it is not normal. And I would love to quote you and that one line you said in one of your videos. The old age is not about like a sudden decline. It's more about accumulated neglect, and it really resonates with what how I think about fitness, and I completely agree to it. Once you enter your 40s, and if you're not taking care of your muscular health, that is when by the time you hit your 50s and 60s, you're going to start seeing effects of aging. It's nothing but deconditioning of your muscle. It's a proven data that after your 30s, every decade you're losing about 3 to 8% of your muscle mass. And losing muscle mass is directly proportional to having more load, more impact on your joints, having your joints needing to undergo a lot more pressure, and which is what leads to degeneration and pain. So it's completely avoidable just by having some well regimented exercises, very basic exercises. If you manage to do it in your 40s and 50s, you will not have any pain because of aging.
Yeah. So Saurabh, as you were saying this, a simple model came into my mind, and I want to check if this is an accurate model or it's too simplistic, which is, when we are younger, we have a lot more muscle mass than when we are older, assuming we don't take care of ourselves, right?
Correct.
And so your muscles are your first line of support to deal with all the activity, the walking, the running, and all of that. And together with the muscle, then because muscle is taking on such a large part of the load, joints and all of that have to take little less load. As we get older, the muscles,
Correct.
we are losing muscle mass. So now the joints take up a lot more and they are not ready for it. And then those start hurting. I mean, I know it's a very simplistic picture, but is that a sort of really what's happening?
No, but that's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what is happening.
Got it.
And
Right.
that's
And
why,
so,
and it doesn't really take much to maintain muscle strength. That's why the solution is very easy. To maintain muscle strength, there are just very simple full body movements that you can just continue doing through your 40s and 50s, and you can easily live pain free in your 60s and later.
and is there, in these different things that you showed today and in the in future 15-minute sessions, are you effectively with each exercise strengthening, sometimes getting your muscle mass to increase, sometimes getting your existing muscle mass to engage, to learn to engage, getting your joints to behave themselves? Is it a combination of all these different things that these different exercises provide?
Right. So what I generally recommend people who have very busy schedules or who don't want to spend a lot of time doing exercises, all they have to do is do these following 5 exercises every single day. Just do 15 to 20 repetition of these 5 exercises. Number one is squats. Number two is your V-ups. Then you do your plank. Then you do a YTW, like a Superman with a YTW. We will do one session out of these 15-minute session, which is on these 5 exercises. If you do every single day, you do not need to do anything else in your life. Just these 5 exercises
Wow.
will keep you fit enough uh, to go through your life without facing any other issue. Now, because people have pain, they cannot do these exercises, which is where these 15-minute session come in picture. That whatever issue you have, because of which you're going to tell me, I can't do these 5 exercises also. So I will bring solutions to all those problems so that you can at least do these 5 exercises comfortably. And just consistently keep doing them every single day for the rest of your life. You will not have any other issue as far as muscular health is concerned.
Great. So, I mean, one of the 15-minute sessions is just going to be on those five, the basics
Yeah, correct.
of
Yeah,
of keeping healthy, right? Of staying strong.
correct.
Um, so,
Yes.
what are the most common mistakes, Sarah, that people make while managing pain?
Right. Okay, that's a great question. Uh, so the first and foremost is considering pain is normal. Pain is part of life. Whenever you start accepting pain, you sort of stop doing any corrective action towards it. So, first of all, understand that pain is a symptom, it's not a problem itself. So that's why pain is a way your body is trying to tell you something. Body is trying to indicate that something is not working right. So pay attention to it, listen to what it is trying to say, and correct that. So don't accept pain just as a part of life. That's the biggest mistake that you can do. Number two, not doing acute pain management. Most of the pain and problem and musculoskeletal issue, if managed within the first 24 to 72 hours well, they will get cured in the first 72 hours itself. A pain that persists beyond 72 hours that's when it starts becoming a problem. The reason is you will start and your body will start compensating in some way. Let's say you have injured your right big toe. While walking, you just snubbed it against your door frame. Now, you did not take care of it. Now there is because of which you started limping and you ignored it. You did not take care of that pain. Now that limp has started troubling your lower back. It has started troubling your knee, started troubling your hip. It has gotten your posture a little wonky. It's made some kind of discrepancies in your muscle length and strength. So that smaller thing can have a very catastrophic effects over the time just because body will always try to compensate. That's why managing pain in its acute stage is the most important thing. If you can manage it in the first 72 hours, most of the issues will be gone. Number three, people think painkillers are the enemy. A lot of times, just taking one medicine can solve a problem by 50 to 60% because these are not just painkillers, right? NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs based on muscular issues. It can be a muscle relaxant, it can be anti-inflammatory, it can be drugs that can help you with arthritic pain, which can really reduce the recovery period of that injury. So just taking the right dosage for the very short period of time can really help you get back to your exercises than extended periods of rest. I'm not saying keep get hooked onto them or take for a longer period of time, but just two to like one dose, two dose, three doses, and that's more than enough. But taking it at the right time really improves your ability to get back to your normal routine quicker. These are the common mistakes that I see people make with pain.
Yeah. No, I think, what you just said is very important. There are people who either go crazy and take pain medication all the time, and then that causes a ton of GI issues, or they are so
Correct.
scared of having heard other people's stories and then don't take it at all. And that also is not good because you do not want to be living with inflammation, right? When you've just had an injury,
Correct.
because that causes other issues. So it's critical to the point you made. Take it for a couple of times. Once the swelling goes, once it is, the issue is more under control, then it's fine. And in fact, that brings up a question that I think often confuses people, and that is hot versus cold. When do you apply heat? When do you apply
Right.
cold? What's the right way to think about it?
Right. Uh, so super acute and acute stages. Super acute is first 24 hours after an injury. Acute stage is first 3 to 5 days after injury. You apply ice blanket, no matter what the injury is. Within first 3 to 5 days, you apply ice. If the pain, that injury persists beyond 5 days, then you can introduce heat. But first 5 days, posterior ice, and in the super acute, which is the first 24 hours, just load it with ice. After every 2 to 3 hours for 15 minutes, continue doing icing. And again, a very common mistake that we just keep that ice and forget about it. We don't move it. We don't really do anything. That's not how icing should be done. So icing should always be done towards the nearest lymph node. That means, okay, forget lymph node, towards the nearest joint. If you have, let's say, an injury or inflammation here, single direction, slight pressure with ice, that's how cryotherapy or that's how icing works. Slight pressure is important and direction is important because we really want to take out all the lymphatic accumulation from that area. So that is why first 3 to 5 days ice. Post that you can do heat. Whenever you're doing heat, prefer moist heat over dry heat because skin is more osmotic in that nature and better heat exchange happens. Now for joints, two joints, specific your ankle and your wrist. There are way too many small bones and joints there. So for these two joints, always prefer contrast bath. Be after the first 3 days. So you do 2 minutes of hot, 2 minutes of cold. So that's a contrast bath. So for two specific joints, which is your ankle and wrist, always prefer a contrast bath. It's going to work way better than just heat or cold alone.
And what is the science behind that? When or like what is the role heat plays versus what is the role cold plays?
So cold causes vasoconstriction. So inflammation is our body's healing response. Whenever there is an injury, body will start sending chemicals towards that area to create inflammation. That's a healing process. At the same time, to protect that area. Now, once those chemicals come in, it doesn't drain out very quickly on its own, which is where icing comes in picture. Where with ice, we create like a negative pressure in that area because it constricts all the vessel in that area. And when the temperature returns to normal, all the lymphatic accumulation is drained out from that area. So otherwise, the inflammation which would have taken 2 days, 3 days to slowly drain out on its own, we have just sped up that process. So that's how cold works. For heat, whenever there is a severe tightness, stiffness, a capsular stiffness, at that time we want local warmth. Wherever there is warmth, there is better blood supply, better circulation, and warmth in the muscle allows those muscles to move easier because it makes them pliable. It makes the fascia more pliable. So it allows the movement of those soft tissue structures better. So that's why in a longer term or a chronic case, we do heat.
Got it. This is actually super helpful to understand, because once we know one is to reduce inflammation, the other is to improve circulation. Now we have a thought process of what is the need of the hour and also the framework you provided at the beginning,
Right.
which is first day or few days, cold is the answer. Because right at that point in time, you're
Yeah.
still dealing with the inflammation and all the chemicals that are just still hanging around. After that, when you move more
Correct.
into circulation. But this other point you also made, which is the two specific joints, the ankle and the wrist, that even in the first few days, you want a combination of both, correct?
So after the first 3 days, yes.
Okay. So first 3 days is still only cold, even for those two joints. But after that, you
Yes.
need to do a contrast. Got it.
Contrast bath. Otherwise, ankle and wrist, the inflammation doesn't go away either with ice or cold. The contrast bath works like magic on those joints.
Got it. Got it. And I know we're going to be getting member questions, but a couple of quick questions before that. What type of pain do we recover from, and when do we have to focus on managing symptoms?
Right. Very, very important question because managing expectations and how do you deal with that pain is important. So, which is why we have to understand there are three types of pain. One is a traumatic pain, then there is a overuse pain, and then there is degenerative pain. Now, managing, these are the three causes why pain can happen, and these are the only three causes. If it is a traumatic pain, that means it's just sudden injury which was not in your control, some accident, slip, fall, some sports injury, all of the traumatic pain, you have to protect it initially, then start loading it, and you can completely recover from it. Based on what is the extent of the damage, your recovery timelines will change, but you will recover from that pain. So for those injuries, make sure that your approach is more aggressive than conservative. Unless, of course, you have a fracture or a tear. Now, overuse injuries, which are the most common kinds, are basically your wrong habits, just over and over again doing something and not doing the opposite of that movement. Let's say all of us through the day, when we are sitting, looking at our phones, typing on our laptops, you're constantly in a flexed position. We are not really extending much through the day. That's why there is a severe overuse stress around our spine, and that's why spinal problems are so common. Or running. People who run are just constantly running. There is no cross training supported to it.
So what I'm saying is I hear you, but I hear that customers. We are truly a global company.
Hardik, can you go on mute, please?
Development centers and
Yeah, go ahead, Saurabh. Sorry. Saurabh, you're on mute now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, the second one is overuse, where basically you're doing the same activity over and over again. In that case, you need to find a complementary activity to whatever you're doing, whatever you're overusing. Let's say if it's running or if you're playing racket sports, you need to find, if you're playing badminton or tennis regularly, go and swim, where there is a full circumduction movement happening instead of just this. If you're running continuously, make sure you're weight training along with it to keep making sure that those muscles stay well. So these are all overuse pain. When you manage these kind of pain, you always have to find the right balance to counter that overuse. The third type of pain, which is a degenerative pain. Now, unfortunately, once the degeneration happens, it's an irreversible change in your body. Now, anything which is degenerative, the bone damage cannot be reversed. The osteophyte formation which has happened, if that cannot be reversed. So now these kind of pain have to be managed. If you have a herniated or a prolapsed disc, if you have a slip disc, now that is not irreversible. That is irreversible. So you cannot change it. Now these kind of pain, you have to be cognizant. I cannot change this. I have to manage it. Now, what is the most important thing when you manage such conditions? That like how when you have certain medical condition, you take medicine for it. Similarly, these exercises, those particular exercises become your medicine. You need to know that you need to continue doing them for the rest of your life, because that condition can't be reversed. Now you have to manage it and improve your functionality with that condition in mind. So that is how you can divide how you deal with different kind of pain.
Got it. That is super helpful to understand, because I think we often tend to put all pain into a single bucket, but they have very different characteristics based on what you just said, and they have to be dealt with very differently.
Different. Yeah. Very true.
I think we just unfortunately lost Dr. Arun Jamkar. He was on the call, but he put a comment saying, "I'm a surgeon and I endorse taking a single dose or a day of analgesics." So I would love to have him get off
very
mute.
good results. Yeah.
There's a question from Amrita. Can you please talk about the advantage of massage while dealing with pain?
Again, massage is not really great in the acute stage of an injury, but in a little later, after 5 days, based on extent of injury, massage can prove helpful. Newer sports sciences studies show that a lot of muscular injuries are actually to do with your fascia. So that's why doing a myofascial release or what the sports masseurs do can actually prove helpful. But given the fact, I think during our last session also we spoke about this, that going deeper pressure is not really productive. I find it very gimmicky, and I don't know where it all has come into practice that more pressure, more pain you feel, better the massages, which is not true unless you are specifically trying to release a trigger point. Apart from that, you don't need deep pressure. You need light rhythmic pressure to release that facial adhesions. But massage can be helpful in some type of pain. Yes.
You've now said this, you made this, use this term. I just want everyone to learn a little bit because I think it's a fascinating term, and that is the fascia, right? What is it? Because it's a topic that I think is reasonably new in terms of people's understanding,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
Correct. Okay, I have a very interesting way of. I always, when I train our physios, this is how I explain them. This is how I'll explain everybody. So consider your fascia to be a ruled paper. That's exactly how right from your skull to your toes, your entire body is covered in fascia, and it has these are fascial lines which run parallel to each other. So imagine your fascia to be a ruled paper. Now you have a muscle pull, you have a twisting injury, you fall, you suddenly end up stretching your arm. What ends up happening? Imagine this ruled paper crumpling in the middle. Now, what you feel here is what we feel in our body, and this is what we call fascia adhesions. Now, what does massage do, or what does myofascial release do? We basically iron out these crumples so that muscles can glide easily around this fascia, and which is why it responds better to light pressure rather than deeper pressure because you end up damaging that fascia further. So in simplest term, this is what fascia is, and that's why releasing fascia becomes important because wherever these crumples are there, wherever adhesions are there, it will not allow your muscles to glide easily, which is why you have tightness, which is why you have restrictions.
Yeah, I think, this, just for everyone's knowledge, this is a topic that is reasonably new, even in research. A lot of people, I mean, for a long time, I don't think we understood that there's almost this sort of this, I think it's made of collagen, right? This layer that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
keeping
Connective tissue.
everything. It's like a big bag that's holding all our organs and everything together. And it's a very
Correct.
thin structure that's surrounding everything. But
It's like a
now people
membrane
are
which is covering
understanding.
your entire body.
Correct. It's like a membrane that's
And
covering
which
entire
is
body.
where,
Exactly.
interestingly,
And everything.
the newest sports medicine studies show that your muscle pulls, muscle strains are actually nothing in the muscle. Muscles don't get injury. It's the fascia which gets the adhesions and it doesn't allow the muscles to move easily. So whatever stretches we are doing, we thinking it is for a muscle. Actually, newer studies show that fascia is what we have to manipulate, not the muscles.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, in any case, this is fascinating, and I know we are out of time. But Saurabh, thank you so much. I think, as always, you are so clear in your explanations. They're all based on first principles because it also allows us to understand for ourselves. Next time, if we run into an issue, I have now in my mind, I'm going to have that fascia thing. Oh, it's not my muscle, it's the fascia that's crumpled over there, right? Once it becomes visually clear in your head, you know how you can start thinking about the problem better. And so, um, it was a beautiful, very informative session. And I would recommend everybody, if you get a chance, please do on the community, pick a time slot and let's find a way to make this 12 weeks of 15 minutes each a part of our life, because I think, frankly, it's the greatest gift we can give ourselves. And we heard Deepika talk about it, but I think a lot of us would benefit equally. So it's free. It's something that you have access to. Take advantage of it and bring your friends and family members, because I think it's even more fun doing it together with someone else. So on that note, thank you
Right.
again, Saurabh, and I would love the community to show their love, which they're already showing through all the emoji streams you're seeing on the screen. But
Nikhil,
well,
can I just make one comment?
Yeah, before you make a comment, I want to explain who you are. So Anita, who's going to make the comment, is one of the founding members of the South Asian Heart Center and has been involved with that for many, many, many years, and a very, very well-regarded coach, dietitian, and many things. And so, Anita, I want people to know the background before you make your comment.
Thank you. I'm well-regarded coach, but I'm not dietitian, and for some reason, I'm not able to start my video right now. In the sense, it's not working. But I commented. Thank you for explaining my fascia very nicely. I have been on the receiving end of a myofascial therapy for last 15 years, like whenever I had issue. And there is a good clinic in Bay Area. So for people who are joining from Bay Area, I have written the name of the clinic there, and they can avail the services, because it's not easy to find a good myofascial therapist quickly.
Yeah. No, Anita, thanks for sharing that. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well. And one quick question from Aarti. Foam rolling, good idea, bad idea? What's the right way to do it?
Good for maintenance, not so great for recovery. If you already have tightness, foam rolling is a very tricky thing to do. If you're not doing it well, there is a higher chance that you might end up injuring your fascia than recovering from it. But if you don't have any tightness, it's a great way to maintain that mobility. But if you're recovering from some specific tightness, foam rolling is not as efficient.
So use it to not to uncrumple the paper, but to keep the uncrumpled paper uncrumpled.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So, great. Thank you again, Saurabh. I know there are going to be tons more such questions in every session, but thank you. And thank you all, as always, for attending.
Right.
Okay. Bye.
Lovely talking to you. Bye.